Neill. I've been in Spike's group for a couple of years now. I'm almost finished with the book I started when I started with her. It's a collection of stories when I was in the Army, when I was 19 in 1982. I was in a Pershing nuclear missile unit in Germany, and this is a story from those times, and it's called Bigwolf. It was springtime on the cast site, clear out, but not yet warm. It was a Sunday, so I didn't have to hide between guard duty shifts, and the wives and their babies were out, spending a few hours with their husbands before the evening bus took them back to Wiley. I was sitting out on the lawn with Frank Bigwolf from Supply. He came from one of the Confederated tribes of the Colville Reservation in Washington State. He had thick black hair and a red complexion on a square face with a cleft chin. We were watching Charlie, who was just out past the edge of the crowd, hopping around in the grass, trying to eat a toad. Charlie had been in Bravo longer than me. He was a raven who had abandoned his migration the year before, staying on the cast site because the guards brought him cookies down on the firing pads. And when the rest of his murder flew away, the guards claimed him as our mascot. When winter came in hard, he slept on the warheads because the snow did not accumulate there. And eventually his skin was plucked almost clean by the low-grade radiation that seeped up through the seams of the aluminum shells and the nose cones of the rockets. He still had most of his feathers that day, but his flying days were over. When he pecked down on this toad, it bounced up out of the grass and tried to hop away, and they did that over and over, Charlie squawking at the toad each time like an angry orphan with a flattened-out soccer ball. Every time he crowed out, the birds hidden in the forest that surrounded us made noises of their own, and it all echoed over the empty space that had been clear-cut to build this top-secret Cold War nuclear missile base. Frank said, "That raven, he's a trickster." "Yeah, he is," I said. "What does that mean exactly, a trickster?" "It means he plays tricks. He's a trickster. I've had stories my whole life about the tricksters. The ravens and the crows and the coyotes too, they're all tricksters." "You mean like they're evil?" "Oh, no, they aren't evil. That's your thing. They just are what they are. They're tricksters. Like, we have this one story where the trickster raven tricks God, the great Father and Creator, into doing whatever it is that raven wants. First, he tricks the Creator into making a baby daughter for himself. Then he tricks Creator God into giving that same baby daughter to him, the raven. Then Raven takes his new baby daughter back to Earth with him, our Earth here. He gestured around with both hands, owning this twisted pocket that the Department of Defense had carved into old-growth nature. Then, Trickster Raven tricks Father Creator's baby daughter into becoming the sun for Mother Earth. And that is how the blackest bird brought the brightest light to humanity, to us. When Creator God figured out what Trickster Raven had done, he just blew it off and accepted it, because he himself had created Trickster Raven too. And if he didn't ever expect to get tricked, maybe he shouldn't have created any tricksters. How did he trick him? Oh, I don't know. I guess because it was still so dark and the raven just blended into it real good. I said, that makes about as much sense as anything else I've ever heard. So, did they teach you stories like that in your reservation school, or is that just like a powwow campfire story, or what? Frank Bigwolf stared ahead and said, "Yeah." What I mean is that your religion? Do you believe those kinds of stories as something that really happened? It's part of my beliefs, but I'm not saying that it's true. All stories, no matter what your religion, even if it's not a story about beliefs, if it's just something out of a book you read, they're just there to remind you to pay attention. I said, pay attention like beware of tricksters? Sure, okay, if that's what you think needs your attention. Or just pay attention to the sunlight and the dark. Pay attention to the mothers and the fathers and the babies. Pay attention to the birds. Frank Bigwolf was the only Indian I knew in the whole 7 years I was in the Army, but he had several Indian friends on Wiley Caserne. They were from different tribes from all over the United States, but they found each other at Wiley, all the way over in Germany, and they didn't hang out with anyone else. They were friendly, but after work, they spent their time with each other alone. Charlie squawked at the toad again, and the collected surrounding sounds of the forest rose up like cicadas. Frank said, "Like, you hear all these sparrows? You can hear a lot more than you can see, right? Listen, when I was a little kid, one day my father said to me, 'Son, you see all these birds in these trees?' And I nodded that, yes, I saw the birds in the trees. Then he said to me, 'Watch this.' And Frank Bigwolf cupped his hands at his mouth like he was going to holler something through them, but instead he put his lips on the outside of his right-handed thumb and kissed out a long, troubled, high-pitched squeak. He turned his body to broadcast this noise all around us. Then he held up a finger for me to wave. Seconds later, over the normal din of the sparrows and jays, there came a cacophony of whistles and coos and cats screaming from the woods all around us. All types of birds flew in over the fence and landed in the trees within the cast site, jerking and bobbing their heads around, looking for the source of this noise. Frank said, "That's the sound a baby bird makes when it's in trouble. It doesn't matter what kind of a baby bird it is." Then my father, he said to me, "When the Creator God made the world, he had all the gold there ever would be. Birds cost only a single penny for all the many thousands he could bring with him to Mother Earth. But even though they only cost him a penny, he taught all the birds to watch out for each other by making all their babies cry the same." Then my father said to me, "So you see, my son, if God, the Creator, would put that much work into protecting his penny-ante birds, then imagine how much God and I value you and dedicate ourselves to protect and care for you, my precious and beautiful child." By now, the squawking and whistling of the birds was surrounding us, so much so that the other people sitting in the grass were looking around to see what they might have missed. I felt so privileged that my normally stoic friend shared a story with me that was both personal and tribal. And I said, "That's a pretty great story, Frank, and I hoped you would tell me another." Frank Bigwolf said, "Yeah, so after that, whenever I would get bored down on the res, I would take my BB gun out into the woods." He squeaked a long kiss out on the back of his hand again, and the birds went even more insane, cracking the air open with their squawks. He pantomimed as if he were holding a rifle in his hands, cocking his head and aiming down the barrel up into the trees, drawing a bead on the birds. "Pow!" he said. Then he turned to the right. "Pow!" Then he turned to the left. "Pow! Pow! Pow!" Thank you.